So we just wanted to take a minute to show you guys the fiber that you're going to get in your kit. So the fiber we used in the videos was a little different because we didn't have this color yet. So this is Calypso from Fractal Fibers, and I'm going to show you where the color repeats are and where to pull apart your fiber for the fractal and the gradient spinning. So yes, so open it up. Okay, it's really pretty. These colors are beautiful. I think the repeat will be similar. I tried to pick a fiber that we used before and that had, in the other videos, that had a similar color repeat, as in like the amount of color type and how many times it repeated. But we will see now that we have this. And of course I opened it backwards. Okay, cool. So it's quite long. So I'm going to start at the end and we'll see what we have here, because this is the first time I'm seeing it as well. So this one starts with a nice yellow, and then the repeat goes to another yellow. Cool. This one's really nice. It is very similar to the one we used in the videos. So don't be worried if you're doing the video and it's a different color. It's similar. So the first thing you do is split the whole braid in half. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So it's okay if one side gets more than the other. This is all for learning and having fun. You don't have to have the exact same yardage for each sample. So now we have two. So I'm going to throw this over my shoulder, and this one I'm going to wrap up and put aside. So the first one we're going to do is the fractal. So for the fractal spinning, you take this half of your braid that you just split and split this half again. Okay, so now you have two. So with the fractal spinning, one of these you're going to split into the long strips, and then one you're going to make into the shorter ones. So the way this one works, I think I'm going to end my shorter repeat after the yellow. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You should have about 6 pieces. So I'm going to rip them up now. So right after the yellow, you rip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So, and these you can put aside. And then this we're gonna split. We're gonna try and get 3 out of this. This is a little bit thinner than the other side. I probably should have swapped them, but that's okay. We deal with what we got. So, and when you're actually spinning, you're gonna spin these long ones on a bobbin and then the short ones on a bobbin, and then ply them together. So when you actually do your yarn, these long strips are going to be your short color repeats, and the shorter strips will be your long color repeats. Would sound like they're backwards, but it's all about how much fiber you're actually working with. So when you have these thin strips, you have way less fiber. So your color repeats are going to be shorter. Okay. So we got 3. I'm going to get this ready. Okay. So once again, you're going to spin these on one bobbin and then the short ones on another bobbin and ply them together. And that's going to be your fractal color management. And what that will give you is a self-striping yarn. So yeah, so you have your big, repeats, and then your smaller ones. So what we have here is our prepped samples, just so you guys can see it visually before you start spinning. So this is the short stripe prep. This is basically the half that we split into 3 pieces. And this will create your shorter stripe sequences. Then these are the long stripe repeats. And there's 5 of them for this. It'll vary per whatever braid you're using though. So it's not always gonna be 5, it could be less or it could be more. So you're gonna spin this on one bobbin and you're gonna spin this on another bobbin and you apply them together. So after you apply those together, this is a swatch of a sample from what it would look like. So you can see it has this color stripe repeat, but it still has a nice barber pole gradient in here. And this is what a mini skein looked like. So this yielded about 80 yards of worsted-ish weight. You can see it's a little bit all over the place, but it's about 80 yards. So now we're gonna start spinning. I'm gonna start with the 3 stripes, which is the short striping fiber. You can start with either one, it doesn't matter. You just always wanna make sure that whichever fiber you choose, that you're spinning in the same color pattern each time, because you want your stripes to be consistent. So I'm starting with the pink end on this one, and as you see when you grab each one, because of the way you rolled it up earlier, the pink is on the end too. So next one will be pink, and then this one got a little jumbled, but then we got pink. So you can even just like leave them there hanging out so you don't forget. How chunky you spin your yarn will dictate how big your stripes are, just because if you go finer, you'll have more yardage. If you go heavier, you'll have less yardage. You do want to make sure that however you spin, you are consistent throughout each of your, throughout all the fiber, because that will also help with the striping of your yarn and how big your stripes are. I'm trying to do like a fingering weight, so when I apply it, I have a sport weight. So if you participated in the spin along last year, we gave you a precise spinning control card that helps you keep your consistency while you're spinning. So I'm going to use that now as I'm spinning these braids, just to make sure that I'm keeping my yarn the size I want it to be. So this will spin up quickly. This is basically pencil roving, so we split it up so each of these little fiber strips, even the long ones, should not take too long to spin. They're only an ounce altogether, so anyone who spins 4-ounce braids a lot knows that a quarter of that is not too much. As you see, we're changing colors quickly. So color management is really all about how you separate your braid before you spin. When I first started spinning, I know I would just kind of go with it and let the braid figure it out, but sometimes I wouldn't be very happy with how it turned out. Sometimes colors will muddle together and they won't do what you really hope that braid would do. But when you can split up your fiber into pieces and create fractals or gradients, or or just even self-striping by pulling each piece off as you're going, you have so much more control with what it comes out like, which makes you want to use it more. Especially if you have a project in mind, if you're trying to recreate another yarn that you've seen in a yarn shop. It's easy to spin from too, because it's almost like a pre-draft. So these strips they're so thin that the fiber basically just flies right off your hand into the spinning wheel. It's really nice. When I'm spinning and it changes color, sometimes part of your color will start to be grabbed up faster with the twist of the previous yarn. But what I do to kind of help that is sometimes I'll just move this around, and I use my thumb to try and direct which color I want to be taken up. Because sometimes I'll just pull up one half of it, and then you're left with the other half, which in this situation wouldn't be very good because you want your striping to be exact or as exact as you can get it. So if you find that your fiber is being pulled up and it's not taking up as much the way you like it, you just stop spinning. You know, you don't have to keep going. You just break your yarn and rejoin it to the color that you want it to be. So after you've spun your short color repeats, which are your long strips, on one bobbin, you get a whole new bobbin because you're going to need to ply these two together, and you spin your long color repeats, which are basically single color repeats. They're mirror image of each other, so luckily starting from one end to the other shouldn't make a big difference, but you want to make sure that you're always starting with a green. These will give you long color repeats, and when you ply it together with the short color repeats, you will get a self-striping yarn, and this is what it looks like knit up. If I kept going, there'd be more striping, but it should be a very consistent stripe. So once you have your yarn, you can finish it. I didn't necessarily finish it. I tried to do as much of a balanced ply as possible. So I just knit it right after I spun it. You can finish it, you can not finish it, you can weave with it, you can knit with it. I thought you'd see the color striping best by knitting with it, but you can do anything you want.